Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day everyone. The Honorable Ms. Mutmaina MPD as our lecture of second language acquisition. So we are from group 5. Today we are going to discuss about individual learner difference and second language acquisition. But before that, allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Pira Junior and my partner are Rosa Amalia Syafira, Sinta Siti Oktarina, Sudiarti Awalia, and Rizka Nuraziza Losela. So, what you waiting for, guys? Keep on watching and happy learning. Well, my friends, I will explain the first material. It's about introduction. Second language or L2 learners vary on a number of dimensions to do with personality, motivation, learning style, aptitude, and age. The aim of this chapter is to examine the relationship between these factors and second language acquisition or SLA. First, however, it's important to consider 2 points about the nature of this relationship. Okay, the next material will be explained by Sinta. Sinta, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sinta. Okay, I will explain about aspect of SLA. So, aspect of SLA influenced by individual learner factor. One is that difference in age, learning style, aptitude, motivation, and the last personality. Okay, the first, age. Learning second language is better start from earlier age. Children are popularly believed to be better in learning second language than adults. Most of the general public still believe that learning a second language would be better start when still a child. Okay, next, learning style. Language learning style refers to cognitive variations in learning a second language. It is about an individual preferred way of processing, that is, of perceiving, conceptualizing, organizing, and recalling information related to language learning. The following cognitive styles have been identified by Knowles 1972 as cited in Locker and Richards 1994. The first, concrete learning style. Learners with a concrete learning style use active and direct means of taking in and process information. They are curious, spontaneous, and willing to take risks. And the second, analytical learning style. Learners with an analytical style are independent, like to solve problems, and enjoy tracking down ideas and developing principles on their own. And the third, communicative learning style. Learners with a communicative learning style prefer a social approach to learning. They need personal feedback and interactions, and learners will form discussion and group activities. And the last, authority-oriented learning style. Learners with an authority-oriented style are said to be responsible and defendable. They like and need structure and sequential progressions. Okay, next, aptitude. Carson's 1981 suggests aptitude is important for formal situations such classroom, and aptitude is important for formal situations while aptitude designed for classroom learners. Lack of aptitude is usually linked to other problems SLA have. Okay, next, motivations. In a simple, motivations can be defined as why someone decides to do something, how long they willing to teach activities. Usually, the motivation is obtained from a person or from the teacher in the classroom. High motivation is one factor that causes successful learning. Okay, and the last, personality. Out of four factors that influence to second language, personality is also a fact to success learning. There are other individual variations that influences for SLA, such as intelligence, empathy, and level of first language. Okay, next, identifications and classifications of learner factor. Identifying the individual differences and classifying them are a complex task because the differences or the characteristics are abstract phenomena. The main difficulty is that it is not feasible to identify, observe, access, and identify directly such qualities as aptitude, motivations, or anxiety. Errors analysis focus on the process of learning a second language. When students learn a second language, there are many deviations. In other words, error analysis is a technique for identifying, classifying, and interpreting systematically the mistake made by students who are learning SLA. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Oktarina. Okay, I will present about personal factors. Number first is group dynamics. Group dynamics seem to be important in classroom. CLH Bailey records in some detail the anxiety and competitiveness experienced by a number of jurists. And the next, attitudes to the teachers and course materials. Some pupils, teachers who, in speech terms, create a space for them to pursue their own learning paths. And the next is individual learning techniques. Neyman and Piquet identify numerous study techniques. Here is a sample of those that learners reported by use to develop their vocabulary in the L2. The first is preparing and memorizing. The second is learning words in context. Number 3 is practicing vocabulary. Okay, thank you very much.
The next presenter is me. My name is Rosamel Shafira, and I'm gonna talk about general factors. The general factors which is considered are age, aptitude, cognitive style, motivation, and personality. Age is the variable that has been most frequently considered in discussion of individual differences in second language acquisition. This doubtlessly due in part to the ease with which it can be measured. Unlike all the other general factors, it can be described reliably and precisely. And another reason, however, has been the need to submit to empirical investigation the commonly held belief that children are better language learners than adults. And there is a noticeable lack of agreement in the conclusion reached by these authors. And this is a reflection of the complexity of the age issue. And the aim in this section is to highlight the key elements in this complex issue by first examining the effects of age and then looking at various explanations of age. First it is necessary to separate out the effects of age on the root of second language acquisition from the effects of age on the rate or success of second language acquisition. Most of studies that have investigated the role of age have been concerned with the latter. That is, they have examined the extent of the correlation between measures of age or the length of learning period and measures of proficiency achieved. According to Bailey, 1974, investigate the order in which adults acquired the same set grammatical morphemes studied by Delay and Burt, and they found an order similar to that found in the morpheme studies of children. And Kasdan, 1975, found that child, adolescents, and adult learners went through the same stage. These learners appear to process linguistics data in the same way, irrespective of how old they are. And rate and success of second language acquisition appear to be strongly influenced by the age of the learner. That is, if learners at different age are matched according to the amount of time they have been exposed to the second language, it is the older learners who reach higher levels of the proficiency. And they found that age was a factor only when it came to morphology and syntax, and there were only very small differences on pronunciation tests, and that the longer the exposure to the second language, the more native-like second language proficiency becomes. The critical period hypothesis. The critical period hypothesis states that there is a period when language acquisition takes place naturally and effortlessly. And Penfield and Roberts argued that the optimum age for language acquisitions falls within the first 10 years of life, and during this period, the brain retains plasticity. But with the onset of puberty, this plasticity begins to disappear. And some evidence to support the critical period hypothesis was supplied by Lundberg. Lundberg provided evidence to show that whereas children rapidly recovered total language control after such operations, and adults didn't do so, but instead continued to display permanent linguistic impairment. And in fact, Lundberg assumed that language acquisition was easier for children. Only where pronunciation is considered as an early start an advantage, and even only in terms of success, not rate of acquisition. Cognitive explanation. For child, language is a tool for expressing meaning. The young child responds not so much to what language is as to what it does. And it is possible that age difference in second language acquisition can be explained in terms of the different orientation to language of children and older learners. And the young child sees only similarities, lacks flexible thinking, and self-centered. The young child doesn't know that he is acquiring language. Furthermore, the young child has not developed social attitudes towards the use of one language as opposed to another. For these reasons, he is cognitively open to another language. In contrast, the adult cannot learn a second language or L2 automatically and naturally. Is affective explanation. Affective explanation, and another possibility that has been explored, is that differences in the affective states of young and older learners account for age differences in second language acquisition. Young children are seen as socio-culturally resilient because they are less culture-bound than adults. They move through the stage of acculturation more quickly and so acquire second language or L2 more quickly. Neufeld, 1978, offers a more convincing account of how affective factors are related to age differences in second language acquisition. He distinguished primary and secondary levels of the language. Primary levels include a reason large functional vocabulary, basic mastery of pronunciation, and grammatical rules. And secondary levels include the ability to handle complex grammatical structures and different language styles. However, children are more likely to achieve secondary levels than adults because they are much more strongly motivated by the need to be accepted by their peer groups, whereas the adult is happy to maintain a foreign accent.
Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Sudarti Awalia. Okay, this slide I will to tell you about aptitude. Aptitude is not easy to define. It is usually defined in terms of the tests that have been used to measure it. Carroll and Sapon's Modern Language Aptitude Test, 1995, and Pimsleur's Language Aptitude Battery, 1996. Carroll and Sapon's 1959 identified three major components of aptitude. The first is phonetic coding ability, which consists of the ability to perceive and memorize new sounds. The second is grammatical sensitivity, which is the individual's ability to demonstrate awareness of the syntactical patterning of sentence of language. And the third is inductive ability, which consists of the ability to notice and identify similarities and the differences in both from grammatical form and meaning. The effect of aptitude on language learning have been measured in terms of the proficiency levels achieved by the different classroom learners. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. The second is cognitive style. Cognitive style is a term used to refer to the manner in which people perceive, conceptualize, organize, and recall information. The dichotomy which has received the greatest attention where SLA is concerned is that of field dependence and independence. The distinction is natural as to which style is most facilitative of learning. It is assumed that whereas field independence will perform some task more effectively than field dependence, the opposite will be true for other tasks. Okay, you can see this slide. This is the different principal characteristic of a field-dependent and a field-independent cognitive style based on Hauke 1982. Field dependence. The first is personal orientation. For example, reliance on external frame of reference in processing information. The second is holistic. Perceive a field as a whole, part fused with a background. The third is dependent. The self view is derived from other. And the fourth is socially sensitive, greater skill in interpersonal or social relationship. And then field independence. The first is impersonal orientation, reliance on internal frame of reference in processing information. And the second is analytic, perceive the field in terms of its component part are distinguished from background, and the third is independent, sense of separate identity, and the fourth is not so socially aware, less skilled in interpersonal or social relationship. Okay, the next material will be explained by Vira Junior.
Okay, my name is Vira Junior. I will explain about motivation and attitude. So, what is motivation and attitude? Motivation is key factor for explaining the success or failure of any difficult activity. Researchers agree that motivation is important for part of mastering a second or foreign language. And so, what is attitude? Attitude is a factor that influences foreign or second language learners on how much effort they put into the learning based on Gardner et al. 1985 statement. And the other statement from Euler 1979, positive attitude is a successful language learner. The, the available research cannot prove positive attitude and motivation cause success and learning. There is a lot of evidence that positive motivation is associated with a willingness to keep learning. Zoltan Dorinin, 2001, developed a model of motivation that consists of three phases. The first phase is choice motivation, which refers to getting started to learn a language and setting goals in this learning. And the second phase is executive motivation, which is carrying out the necessary tasks to maintain motivation. And the last phase is motivation retrospection, which refers to student appraisal of and reaction to their performance. Next, student motivation increase in relation to pedagogical practice, such as the first is motivating student into the lesson. It has been observed that remarks made about following activities can lead to higher level of interest from students. The second, varying the activities lesson that always consists of the same routines have been shown to decrease student attention and to increase in boredom. It's important that teachers vary the activities, tasks, and materials in order to increase student interest. And the last is using cooperative rather than competitive goals. Comparative activities are those in which students must work together in order to complete a task or solve a problem. These activities increase the student's self to motivation.
Hello everyone, my name is Rizka Nurziza Rozela. You can call me Rizka. I want to know about personality. Personality. In general psychology, personality has been explored in terms of a number of personal traits, which in aggregate are said to constitute the personality of an individual. From Cattell 1970, for instance, attempts to measure personality using a series of dichotomies seen as poles on continua, such as cool or warm, shy or venturesome, not assertive or dominant. From A. Singh 1964, identifies two general traits, again represented as dichotomies, extrovert or introvert, and neurotic or stable. This confusion is the result of both the many-faceted nature of personality and the need that individual researchers have failed to investigate traits which intuitively strike them as important. Okay, next, the personality have 3 points. Number 1, extroversion or introversion. Number 2, social skills, and the last one, inhibition. Okay, the first personality are extroversion and introversion. Out of the intuitively appealing hypothesis that has been investigated is that extroverted learners learn more rapidly and are more successful than introverted learners. It has been suggested that extroverted learners will find it easier to make contact with other users of the second language and therefore will obtain more input. From Carson 1981, for instance, argues that an outgoing personality may contribute to acquisition. The classroom learners may also benefit from being extroverted by getting more practice in using the second language. However, Rosier 1976 did find that his subjects' oral fluency correlated significantly with extroversion and introversion measured by async personality inventory. Okay, next, the second personality is social skills. Related to the extroversion and introversion distinction are the types of social skills involved in SLA. From Fillmore 1979, in a longitudinal study of 5 Spanish-speaking children's acquisition of English, argues that the social skills of the learner control the amount of exposure to the second language. Thus, children who found it easy to interact with English-speaking children progressed more rapidly than those who did not. However, of the 7 social styles, Strong investigated only talkativeness and responsiveness were significantly related to measures of language development. Okay, everyone, and the last one, personality, is inhibition. The other major aspect of personality that has been studied with regard to SLA is inhibition. It is hypothesized that the defensiveness associated with inhibition discourages the risk-taking which is necessary for rapid progress in a second language. From Carson 1981 suggests that the onset of formal operations has a profound effect on the affective states of the learner. It induces egocentrism, which in turn leads to increased self-consciousness and greater inhibition. Thus, adolescent learners tend to obtain less input and to make less effective use of the input they do obtain than younger learners. And also Carson's arguments appear tenuous given that adolescents in general prefer and even where pronunciation is concerned do not do significantly worse. Okay, I think enough for our presentation. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.